Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking about my 2022 Ford F-250 Super Duty crew cab, short bed, 7.3 Godzilla, 355 rear end, 4x4, FX4, XLT. See how many more three-letter acronyms we can get in there. But anyway, this is going to be kind of what I like about it. I've owned this just over a year. I've put on 20,000 miles, give or take. And, we've learned a lot about it in that time. Overall, here's a spoiler for you. Overall, really love the truck. But with anything, right, that you buy, there's pluses and minuses. We're going to go over those. Number one, and I'll bring you guys in closer. In general, the way this thing looks, I feel like this front end is pretty timeless. I'm kind of a chrome guy, not tons of chrome, but I like a touch of chrome. This is a little too much chrome for me, but not bad. I love the red. I like these wheels a lot. I feel like Ford has always had crappy wheels, but I do like these. I just think like this badge looks cool. The mirrors are functional and they look nice. You know, the shape, kind of that boxy 90s-esque looking shape they went to in 2017, I've always liked. Just the way the Illumiduties look. The taillights look nice. Like the Super Duty embossed in the tailgate I've always liked. It's just like a sharp vehicle, I think. I think they really did a good job in 2017. And these things have aged awesome. Like they don't look out of date. It's just, now, even though it's kind of an older body design, and they're still rocking and rolling with it in 2025. So, minus the new front end, but still the same shape. Yeah, I would say overall, I like the looks. I've always said Chevy has the nicest looking trucks. And I think that's true for the most part. I think I like the looks of Chevys the most typically. This is either a close second or like this specific truck I actually like more, this generation Super Duty. But man, like an AT4 Silverado, it's a good looking truck. Or like a Sierra, an AT4 Sierra or a Trail Boss Silverado. That's a good looking truck. But anyway, one of the things people always fault newer trucks for is not being easy to maintain or repair. And that's actually one of the things I like about this. If you look, because of 6.7 Power Stroke with all of its accoutrement has to fit under here. This, relatively speaking, little 7.3 gas motor, kind of somewhere between a small block and a big block size-wise, fits in there super easy. So there's actually a lot of room to get the stuff. You can reach you can change the spark plugs easier than the LS that's in my, my Silverado. All these electrical connectors are pretty easy to get to. Various kind of cooler lines and stuff are fine. You got to pull the clutch fan off. That's a little bit annoying. I think the newer trucks are electric fans. But, valve cover job, doing intake manifold. I mean, none of this stuff is that hard to get to. So, really not bad on the maintenance front. I've changed the oil on it. I've done the front and rear diff, the transfer case, transmission, and I think that's it, fluid-wise. Transmission's a little bit annoying to do. You got to kind of suck the stuff out and put new fluid in the fill hole, which is underneath the truck, or you have to drop the pan and do that whole deal. But not too bad. Definitely harder than having a dipstick. I wish I had a dipstick. It doesn't, but still really actually not bad. So I would say maintenance-wise, solid. This and the 6.6 Chevy and the 6.4 Hemi are probably pretty similar ease of maintenance-wise. Yeah, even though it's a newer truck, it's not like a new car, like a new, random, whatever, Subaru or Honda or something where things are starting to get a little bit more complicated to work on. These are still pretty basic. I mean, it's still just kind of an old school truck under the hood, which is cool, which is good. Also, the oil filter is just on the side of the pan. It's actually the mirror image of like what an LS motor is. And I really like that because you can just unscrew the oil filter. It's facing down. All the oil drips out. It's not tucked up under the frame rail like a Ram where it drips all over your power steering box and stuff. So definitely a pretty good design. Just the only thing that I think people don't like about it is they claim that the angle of the drain plug will let it hit the the oil cooler that's on these trucks. It has never happened to me yet, so I don't know if people got it on the lift a little bit tilted back or something, but it hasn't been an issue for me. The next thing that I'm a huge fan of, being in upstate New York, is the Corrosion Proofness. As everyone kind of knows by now, all aluminum since 2017. The F-150s were since 2015. You know, so the entire body is pretty corrosion proof. Now, yes, aluminum can absolutely corrode. I still fully oil undercoat this truck with crown undercoating, so I'll always do that. You know, I still take it very seriously, but between that and the powder coated frame, this truck's very young. It's only a 2022. It's only actually experienced. This is its first winter. It was actually a Texas truck, but you know, between the powder coated frame, being oil undercoated, the aluminum everywhere, even the running boards are aluminum. You know, I fully expect this truck's you know, life to be, or you know, fully expect this truck not to have corrosion issues. Just a real quick tangent, because I want to point something out. My 05 Silverado, for those who watch the channel, has been oil undercoated for the last 100 and some odd thousand miles. It has 250 on it now, and it's no worse for wear, despite being a Northeastern truck a good majority of its life. So the stuff works. But anyway, I'm getting way off topic. For corrosion proofness, again, you know, I would say it's best in class, and I say that because the aluminum and powder coated frame, it doesn't really get any better than that. You know, Chevy has kind of half aluminum because they, like, all their bolt-on body panels are aluminum, but the cab and stuff is steel. But then the frame has the wax coating, which unfortunately just doesn't hold up like it used to. The older wax coated frames seem to be better. And then Rams are actually, shockingly, Rams seem to hold up decently well, but they are still steel body, and I think mostly steel body panels. But their frames are pretty good. The powder coating on their frame seems to be pretty good. So, but yeah, I think Ford just kind of combines the two and has a little better, you know, corrosion proof package. Now, as far as like brake lines and trans-cooler lines and stuff, I think Fords are about average. I think they might be a little worse. I've kind of heard stories of people's like trans-cooler lines on these. They're aluminum, I think the last section, and they'll just like corrode to white dust and they'll leak. So, you know, it's not perfect, guys. And if you know, the Northeast and the Northern Midwest, it just tears cars up. Terrible. So you're going to run into some amount of corrosion issues here and there, unfortunately. First thing that I really love about these trucks is the keypad to get in. No other brand does this, and I find it super helpful. I know a lot of people probably don't care about this, but I do like it. So kind of with that, going into the interior, I really just love all the door pocket storage. You got this little compartment here. I find these seats to be very comfortable. Honestly, I find them to be more comfortable than the GM seats of this era by a long shot. And then stepping in, just the kind of riding position in general. Super comfortable, you know, reaching the pedals. Even though this is just an XLT, you actually have adjustable pedals, which is nice. I love the 4 cup holder situation here, but then they also allow you to use this as a regular compartment. I think this is actually super well designed. I do find myself using the slider in both positions. I actually thought it was kind of a gimmick at first, but it's not. All the new trucks have this, but giant console. These little side compartments, again, kind of come in handy for little stuff. This compartment's good. That comes in handy for things. I like the little storage compartment here. It's mostly empty right now, but if you have a passenger, they can put their crap in there, sunglasses and whatnot. And I just have some junk in there right now. But you know, I find that to be super helpful. The AC plug's good spot, you know, just regular cigarette lighter outlet. All the layout of like your trailer brake controller, your 4-wheel drive, pull out for the locker, all your dials are in good spots. These buttons are useless if you have this bigger screen. You really kind of need them for the smaller screen models. I love the HVAC controls. I think it's really cool that you can just turn this to max AC and kind of flick it like that. That's max AC, and then you can do the same thing as max defrost. Just a really quick way, hop in, you know, it's cold out, it's hot out, boom, I want all of my HVAC for, you know, whichever direction you're going in. Heated seats on the XLT Premium package, that was a must for me because I'm soft. Wireless Android Auto with this adapter, so that kind of works out nice. That's obviously not a feature of the truck, but the fact that it has Android Auto is nice. I do like it overall. I love the manual toggle switches up here for all your gadgets. I do have a few gadgets on here. There's other videos on that. Sunglass holders, good enough. Dome lights and all that stuff are fine. Overall, it's just a really good, usable, no frills interior. You know, there's a lot of plastic and stuff. I don't care. It's easier to clean if I have greasy hands. You know, in fact, I almost wish this was a different color. Yeah, so just overall, you know, the interior is really a great setup. The layout of these screens are good. You know, your trip meters. Whoops, what am I doing? Trip meters, your fuel economy stuff if you care. You got the big compass. And you can see your tire pressures, distance empty. You know, your oil life thing. It has a little bit of everything you need. You do have the selected trailer ability, so you can get all of your, you know, brake settings and stuff, which is nice. They just have the trailer blind spot feature, so despite being XLT, that's pretty good. You got the off-road menus. I haven't played much with these, honestly. Even though I have taken this truck off-road a fair amount. I actually went on the Golden Road in Maine. Seatbelt sensor, that's probably like a legal thing. I have no idea. Trans temp is a live gauge, which I really like. Unfortunately, the oil pressure, which is that one, is not really, it's not a dummy gauge, but it doesn't have numbers attached to it, which is annoying. Same thing with coolant temp. Again, it's not actually a dummy gauge, but there's no numbers attached to it. The newer trucks do have that, which I like. But regardless, overall, it's all functional. Steering wheel controls are perfectly fine. These buttons are good for taking calls and doing your voice commands. This works really good. See, this works really good for your radio controls. Chevy, GM puts them on the back. I don't mind that, but I think the front's slightly easier. Although you do get a lot of buttons here, so it's a trade-off. All these arrows work good. That's what I was using to, you know, open up all this stuff. On-off for cruise, and I do like that they have a cancel button. I think the newer Chevys do, but like my old 05 over there does not have a cancel button. You have to just turn the cruise control off or hit the brake, and then you can, if you turn the cruise control off, you lose your setting, or you have to flicker the brake lights. It's kind of nice to be able to just cancel. Small point. But anyway, yeah. Good size for the interior. So moving to the back, when we open the back door up, we can see we've got all the same kind of door pocket situation here, which is good for backseat passengers or a bunch of junk if you're me. This thing's absolutely filthy. It's the middle of winter here in upstate New York. But I got the dog crate back here, which I really like. That's also a disaster in there. I need to clean all of this big time. But I've got all my tools here. So because these cabs are so large, you know, I'm really able to fit tons of tools. You know, all these random bags are all tools, wrenches, sockets, impact, and drill. So you can really fit a lot of good stuff back here. And then I can just take this crate, fold it up, throw it in the bed of the truck, put this seat down, and I can easily carry my 5 passengers if I want, which is super nice. And it's filthy, but something that I love is that you've got a ton of leg room, but that also means you have a lot of storage room. So people think of a short bed truck as not being, you know, as useful for hauling and stuff. But when your cab is this big, it's like you can bring some stuff that historically, you know, I would have had to put all this in the bed of the truck. I can bring it into the cab, and I don't mind doing that. And then that way I can use the entire length of the bed for other stuff. So it's a trade-off, but kind of, you know, nice if you don't have a long bed to, you know, have more interior storage. I do have a pair of bowling balls seat belted in. I belted that in, so God forbid I got in an accident, they didn't go flying. But anyway, overall, I really give this interior a solid 8 or 9 out of 10. Just super functional, super spacious, really super quiet inside. I mean, there's just no complaints. It does an absolutely great job. Everything you want it to, and this is being, you know, being an XLT, this is no frills. You know, even stuff like this is just plastic, but that bothers some people. It doesn't bother me at all. Again, I got in and out with the dog. I got tools going in and out. I really don't want leather on my door panels to rip. If I chew up this plastic, I either just leave it alone, or I, you know, can replace this plastic door panel cheap. I'm not buying a new piece of leather to, you know, get this recovered, or buying a whole leather door panel for probably $1,000 or something. So it just depends on your use case. If you're not doing this kind of stuff with your truck, then the leather's nice and is fun. But for me, you know, I could take it or leave it. Next thing that I would comment on is just kind of the overall towing and hauling performance. So this is going to obviously be similar with any 3/4 ton truck, at least gasser, but the reality of it is the 7.3 Godzilla has the most amount of power in the segment, and you know, for the most part, it has the highest tow ratings and payload, I believe. I mean, obviously there's certain submodels are all different ratings, right, depending on axle ratios and stuff, but I do believe it gives you the highest capacities for kind of a given trim and a given gear set and that kind of thing. Anyway, you know, you get a nice, I got a nice set of tires on here, but I like the 18-inch wheels. They're good for towing because you get typically higher load rating tires, although you don't really run into that issue on a 250. 20s would be fine, but they're fine. You know, you get a nice heavy duty rear end. You know, you'd get in any 2500, but just good assurance when you're hauling stuff down the road. You know, big, good brakes. Brakes on this thing are awesome. You know, your 2.5-inch receiver. People complain about these eyelets being too big to fit hooks on. They're close, but I've never actually had an issue, so I don't know. I'm fine with it. The biggest thing is Ford at some point, I think it was 2020, really re-engineered their front end system, like all their tie rods and the drag link and all that stuff in the front end. And what that really did, in my opinion, was make these things actually handle the way that they should. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get you guys good light here. Unfortunately, in the past, I feel like Super Duties and especially Rams with the solid front axles were just all over the road, especially when towing. You know, you get a little bit of weight off that front end, and that thing was just trying to drive you into the shoulder of the road and, you know, oncoming traffic and everything else. This thing's pretty stable and pretty solid. Real heavy winds with a trailer on. If you hit a bump at a higher speed on an interstate, you know, sometimes you'll get that little bit of a steering wheel jiggle, but that's kind of just what's going to happen with a solid front axle truck. But yeah, I mean, I've towed 10 to 15,000 miles of this probably in the 20,000 miles I've owned it. And I mean, I've been in pouring rain, I've towed in snow, obviously dry, I've been in the mountains, on the flats. I mean, pretty much every condition you could tow a trailer in. You know, up to 14,000 pound trailer, and you know, it was fine. So no complaints there. And yeah, overall, the 7.3 10-speed, it just pulls like crazy for what it is. You know, it's no diesel, but it gets the job done. You know, I'm typically towing, call it 6,000 to 8,000 pounds. So for me, it is just an awesome drivetrain setup. No complaints. I got the 355 rear end ratio, so it helps the economy a tiny bit. And, you know, it doesn't really affect the towing performance in the real world for what I'm towing. Empty driving experience is really good. So just between the 10-speed and having 430 horsepower and 475 foot-pounds of torque, it's quick enough. It's not fast, but it's quick enough. You can pass people. You can, you know, kind of do whatever you got to do. And then the 355 rear end ratio, obviously it's a little bit high, but again, the 10-speed compensates and it's totally fine. So just the empty driving experience is pretty good. The suspension is pretty smooth. You know, it steers pretty well. You don't feel, I mean, it feels like a big truck, but it doesn't feel like you're driving a industrial vehicle, right? It still kind of drives like a car a little bit. Definitely not so much so, but it's really not. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to daily. Fortunately, I don't have to, but it really wouldn't be. So I'd give it another solid. Honestly, I'd give it a 10 out of 10 for what it is in its towing performance. It really, I don't think anything in the class can quite match it in the gas segment. The phone app is an absolutely awesome feature, and you don't have to pay a fee for this, which is really, really great. So basically, I can remote start, I can lock and unlock, and then I can go into the service section. I can see tire pressures. I can see oil life. And, you know, you can call for roadside, all this different stuff, right? Maintenance schedule, service history. There's just so many different things you can do in the app, and it's all free. And it works pretty well. You can get your odometer reading, which is nice. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here. The owner's manual's in here. Whoops. And, yeah, I really like the app overall. It's kind of a small thing you'd think at first. But I do find myself using it a lot. You can schedule a remote start, kind of like on a Tesla. You can schedule it to warm up before you get in it. Like, that's kind of cool. You can see the location of the vehicle. So if I'm, you know, parked somewhere in downtown in some city I've never been to, you know, I can see where the car is and where the truck is. And, you know, let's say it's right there. I can walk back to it, you know, whatever. So you can get directions right to it, which is cool. Go on Google Maps. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it. So as always, thanks for watching. God bless America, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.